The real-time strategy game, or RTS, was once a staple of the gaming industry.
It's a video game that is shattering sales records.
That is to say the least. There's a good chance the teenage gamers in your house may be, well, playing it as we speak.
And we're here with the Q, who are very excited, naturally, about StarCraft 2.
This genre is responsible for what many might call the birth of modern esports.
I just don't know that Soma is going to have enough Beatles as a standalone to take this army on.
Well, he has him again, and he's on top of the cannon right now. The Zods are turning around.
These vessels don't take damage from the Iranian, and he's wiping out the economy of Flash.
And that is that. Flash, the two-time ASL champion, the greatest player, becomes even greater.
The RTS opened the door to a billion-dollar industry filled with die-hard fans, million-dollar prize pools, and some of the most famous professional players in gaming history. But these days, the genre is seen as long past its prime. Once a pillar of the industry, it's now considered a relic of the past, a genre that's too difficult and too niche for new players to get into it. As a result, flagship developers have abandoned the genre, and there's pretty much only 2 competitive games that are still played today. But all that is about to change, thanks to a small team in California. Meet Frost Giant Studios. Their goal is to not only become the new gold standard for modern RTS games, but to bring RTS esports into the 2020s. This is Stormgate.
Stormgate is a free-to-play RTS. It's meant to follow in the legacy of the Craft games. It's very fast-paced. It has 3 asymmetrical races. There's a lot of action, fast gameplay, a fairly wide variety of strategical depth. The kind of goal with Stormgate is to make an RTS that is more social and that is also more approachable. The idea is to lessen the learning curve that it takes when jumping into an RTS.
According to Heyoka, 1v1s will be the main competitive mode, but by no means the only one they're planning to support. Among these potential offshoot scenes is 3v3, a team game mode that will be released, according to Frost Giant, sometime later in early access.
With co-op, we're expanding it to be 3-player instead of 2-player co-op like StarCraft had.
If you want to promote your game, especially to casuals, I think team games are super important. Most casual players, they don't like jumping into a game and being super tryhard. They will lose a lot, they will burn out, and they will leave the game, right? That's always what I thought.
It's clear that 3v3 will be a game changer for the genre, especially for casual players. A mode where you and your friends can team up to take down another group of friends is something everyone loves. With different combos, strategies, and the potential for chaos, it's already got some pro players and casters excited just thinking about it.
I didn't try the 3 versus IA mode until like the very last 2 days of the beta or something. I couldn't believe how fun it was. It's not even gonna be a casual thing for me. I think I'm gonna be trying super hard on that.
Now does 3v3 pop off and become the next big thing, and the reason that Stormgate's getting 100,000 viewers on a tournament? I have no idea.
Team games are super fun, especially in games where you have heroes and stuff and you can have a lot of super sick combos. And it works, right? A lot of people is playing a lot of team games.
There's a lot more branding and identity potential around 3 people that work together versus just a 1 player by themselves. There's more room for there to be standout personalities and for teams to make branding around things, develop a fan base or maintain a fan base that's more than just 1 player. I'm interested to see where it goes, I can tell you that much.
Stormgate already has a major online tournament under its belt, the EGC Open, which featured more than 500 players. Organized by Elite Gaming Channel, who have been the go-to event organizers for Age of Empires 4 tournaments over the past 2 years.
Wow, I don't remember last time when I actually qualified in StarCraft. I got few times to the close qualifier, never made it to top 16 or top 30 Euro. So this was feeling really good because, after this amount of playing, I obviously wasn't the best player, and so were my opponents. So it was really cool, really refreshing to play, or rather try to play competitively against other people in a brand new game, in a brand new basically everything.
The EGC Open was a great start for Stormgate, but that's not the only competition that has happened so far. And thanks to Wikipedia, which opened its Stormgate wiki in December 2023, we have a collection of dozens of smaller tournaments and show matches that have already taken place.
Truthfully, the biggest surprise and learning I've had about watching the early competitions has been that the game is way more fun to watch than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of expecting it would really take some time to kind of get on its feet, and it's still Very obviously things are early, but I've been pleasantly surprised that the games are interesting to watch. There's actually some decent variety in strategies. A lot of the times it's so hard to create that early on in a game, especially the first time you really open it wide and get playtesters on it. I've been really impressed at the different kinds of strategies people have found out.
The Alpha Navigators Cup, a small global weekly tournament, has seen hundreds of players participate across its 10 editions, awarding $800 in crowdfunded prizes. There have also been hints at more local competitions springing up, including grassroots events like the Co-Construction Cup in China or the Czech Stars series.
So when it comes to regionality, there's a couple of reasons that it's highly beneficial. They carry a lot of region identity that I think is a really positive thing. If you're running small local tournaments, you can get sorts of regional funding that are hard to get otherwise. And so for that reason, I think it's good for us to be supporting some level of regional activity. I also really like the way a lot of circuits are set up where it is like, okay, there's a North America region, there's a Europe region, creating these sort of like localized competitive circuits, and then there's touch points at which you have all those regions meet.
Yeah, for me, I've always been a huge fan of regional tournaments, not only because I obviously like to play in my hometown, but also I feel it's super healthy for a game to have that incentive for the regional communities. Have like a circuit that incentivizes everyone to play, not just the top 10, 15 world players, right?
VortiX finished second in that EGC Open tournament, which ended in a series versus Parting, another renowned StarCraft player who had just recently returned from his military service in Korea. In a tight 5-3 bout, some of Stormgate's best and buggiest sides were shown.
Right, so apparently what is happening here, there was a significant bug in that game which was dropping units outside of the map.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
So the admins have ruled that is going to be a regame.
Okay.
From talking with playtesters, it's clear that the game still has some refining to do. Still, Frost Giant's investment in their engine has been well worth the bugs. Snowplay, Frost Giant's RTS engine that runs on top of Unreal Engine 5, has proven to be remarkably smooth and responsive in a way that feels natural to longtime RTS players. Paired with Rollback Netcode, something that every fighting game fan should be familiar with, means that playing online feels almost as good as playing on LAN.
My first impressions are that the game already has an incredible foundation for RTS strategy.
I don't know, everything felt so in place, right? With Stormgate, even though it was an alpha, pretty much love at first sight.
The game is also built upon a very incredible engine, the best I've ever experienced in an esports title, and I really can't overhype it enough.
I think it was mainly the micro mechanics and how smooth units were moving. It was like almost perfect right from the beginning.
I was able to pull off very tight moves in micro and even win tournaments on the European server from my apartment in California. And something like this would have never been possible in previous RTS titles due to their kind of dated latency and netcode.
I think they started from such a really good base that now they're actually working like super fast and super hard, adding new content.
Underneath, there's an incredible foundation for complex and intricate strategy.
Ultimately, the game being fun is Frost Giant's main concern. If Stormgate is also able to produce a top-of-the-line esports scene, great. But it's clear that Frost Giant is focusing on the quality of the gameplay first.
We want a game that is ultimately fun. There is no like designing for esports. If the game is fun, the rest kind of falls into place. Let's make a game that we think is good. We want a game that's fast-paced. We want a game that feels good to play. We want a game that has a lot of strategy options. And I think Monk especially is extremely good at that very last part.
The game has been a massive hit within the competitive scene, with pros praising it for its tight controls, world-class netcode, and, most importantly, its fun gameplay. With all that said, it's got many pros and tournament organizers hoping that Frost Giant Games releases much needed features to help support the esports community going forward.
So I think Stormgate and its Snowplay engine will interconnect esports players worldwide and will show worldwide RTS competition in a way we really haven't seen online before.
So when it comes to supporting the community, there's a couple of touch points that are important for us. One of them is supporting the ability for people to host custom games, to watch them, broadcast it, having custom lobbies, which we had right away. You know how it is, sometimes games come out and that's a piece that gets added in later. Having observer features, which technically we don't have now, but we will the next time the game is live. We're building them literally today. It's being built. We would like to build those tournament tools so they're directly available in client instead of having to tab out and use a bracket and do all these things with creating an account on another website. And that would support both. I work with a bunch of people and we'd like to play the game and we feel like playing a 4-player bracket after work today, as well as I'm ESL and I would like to run a championship level event. The last thing that's also important for me is empowering the community in the sense that I would like to help other people be able to build businesses on this. I would like them to say, I'm a person that runs tournaments for many games, and Stormgate is a game that I can run tournaments in, broadcast them, get sponsors for, and this is a viable thing for me to keep doing. I'd like people to be able to feel like it's a place they can be comfortable putting in an investment.
Aftermath Esports, the org that I'm part of, is kind of a newer team on the block. Prior to Stormgate, really was an unknown team on the RTS landscape. Due to these new opportunities in Stormgate, it was really able to make a big splash into the RTS scene by recruiting and fostering a powerful roster and practice environment, including players like Parting, myself, Baka, and Albino. I think that these new RTS titles bring kind of a new landscape of high risk and high reward, but it really gives tier 2 teams a chance to break into the already established scene just because the game is so new and there's unlimited possibilities of what can happen.
When it comes to the future of RTS competition, for us, this is not meant to be an exclusive, we are the only game in town type of thing.
Blizzard has a history of shutting down attempts to integrate their RTS titles into third-party tournaments, forcing major tournament organizers to commit to StarCraft-only events. Contrary to this, fighting games are one subsection of the esports scene where the proliferation of majors goes hand in hand with community-run brackets.
It's a little bit tough to run an event that's only one title. You need to get security, you need to get a venue, you need to get internet, and if you can have multiple stages at that event, you can then share those costs across those things. That's one of the reasons why DreamHack is a successful festival model, is you rent a place and then you share costs across a couple of different stages, events, types of things. And so that makes things much more palatable financially to actually be a sustaining business model. And at the end of the day, what I'm extremely interested in is setting up our community for success to have sustainable models.
The RTS community as a whole has shown over the past few years that they're not only willing, but excited to work together on new releases. Age of Empires 4 had tons of players coming in from other RTS titles. Two of its top players, Marine Lord and Beastie, are former StarCraft competitors. Similarly, most who are serious about Stormgate have a history in other competitive RTS titles. Making the game free to play will mean tons of players coming into the RTS genre for the first time without being stuck behind a paywall. And if any game was to take away the throne from StarCraft 2, Stormgate looks like it could be that next generation in RTS esports.
What I hope for the future is we feel really good about this thing now, and I hope that the game grows so much that in 2 or 3 or 4 years we look back and go like, wow, that was really early. Any sort of live service game, there are so many incremental improvements that one of my favorite things to do is to then look back at that game 2-3 years ago in the past, see what it looked like then, because there are so many changes that are so small you don't really notice them.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos about RTS games, you can check out our video about competitive StarCraft right here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.